Hey, it's another episode of Watch You Strap In, and these are not watch reviews. They're just quick wristwatch check of the day with a particular aftermarket strap on a pairing with a particular watch. Did I say that kind of weird? Anyways, I hope you get the point. I am on the Seiko by Rowing Blazers collaboration Seiko 5 Sports watch here. I could botch the reference number. I believe it's SRPJ63, but it'll be in the description. Anyways, yeah, very cool watch. This was a limited edition from 2022, around late of that year. It's kind of in the fall. And yeah, they released another one for, I guess, their summer versions, something that looks similar to this, but it's basically a reverse with a white dial. But yeah, this was one of the first colors to go back in 2022, and I was glad I was able to get one from their website. Pretty lucky because it was basically sold out, but I kept refreshing the page in the hopes that maybe they didn't batch, output all the stock and inventory for sale. And I think they slowly kind of let little by little out so that it wouldn't be completely sold out at once. But still, it was pretty much the first one to go really fast. And luckily, when I refreshed it one time, I was able to get one. And I quickly hit the buy now button, and it's still with me today. I really like the colors. I know there's like a big fad or trend, I guess, with really colorful dials, or at least adding more color to it. There's a lot of things that you've seen that have like some sort of rainbow motif of some sort. Most recently, one of them has probably been the Zodiac Super Chroma, which has that really colorful bezel, really bright, which I once owned, but no longer. But I still have this guy. And anyways, today I am on the Uncle Straps Jubilee, and yeah, I wanted to. Let me try to give a backstory to this purchase here, just to accessorize the watch. I really like it. I'm glad the fact first that this came with both a bracelet, though pretty standard, nothing fancy, oyster style bracelet from Seiko. It's with the typical kind of inexpensive build, let's say, but it worked. Hollow end links, folded links. The usual Seiko style clasp, which is nothing fantastic, but it was okay for this, but and then it comes with a colorful like color matched NATO strap, which was pretty cool too. And I enjoy having both, but there's something I think that could be better, at least with the bracelet, because I'm mostly a bracelet guy. And I was sort of inspired by Watch Crunch, specifically Max from Watch Crunch. He did a video a little while ago, not too long, but it was talking about the Tudor releases recently from, I guess, watches. I guess it would be from Watches and Wonders. And, of course, they released the Black Bay 58. It's pretty much the main headlines for them these days. But they're dive watches, the 54, the new 41 millimeters and stuff, and they added a Jubilee to that. And I guess the other Black Bay, they really should differentiate it better. The ones that are smooth bezel, that are not divers, I guess they're relatable to like a Rolex Datejust or OP, because they're just time only. There's no date, but those are pretty nice looking. They retain the diver style and look primarily, but basically removed the bezel, the rotating bezel, and just gave it a smooth bezel. So makes it kind of more of a simplified, cleaner, everyday kind of watch piece, I suppose. And what they did recently was he mentioned that besides some new colors, I guess, maybe the blue shade is different than what they used before. The bracelet was the main thing that got updated or changed, and they have a Jubilee now with it. And he's just talking about how it elevated the look of the watch. It's a great go anywhere, do anything, you know, gotta kind of watch, but maybe it's not for everyone. And I agree. A jack of all trades is a master of none, I suppose, is another way to put it. So, you know, in one way, it's very versatile and can kind of do a little bit of this and that all around. But then again, it can be kind of, I don't want to say mundane or ordinary, but I guess vanilla. It's maybe too versatile, where it's like, well, it doesn't like push a direction of style and maybe, you know, indicates to one a little bit more what your some of your personality traits are, you know, because it's so for lack of a better terms, generic. You know, it just kind of works all around, but it doesn't say, oh yeah, he likes pilot watches. He's you know, he's probably into aviation or that, or maybe field watches. You know, although they can be rather generic looking too, but maybe he's really into, you know, military, you know, no BS, you know, straightforward looks. Or, you know, obviously divers are one thing, chronographs, most likely you're thinking someone's into motorsports, but if it's more of a military chronograph type of theme, again, maybe he's more into military, like history or something like that. But yeah, all-rounder tends to be a little bit, again, generic and doesn't necessarily scream a whole lot of personality, but you're just looking to do something that just takes care of a bunch of things and very versatile, and that's fine. But what was it? Yeah, so I think what helped elevate, I think he mentioned that helped elevate that Black Bay to a little bit even nicer status, I guess, or look, is the Jubilee bracelet. And I would agree, it was a little bit plain, or it's a really plain watch, but on a oyster style, that's about as plain and generic a bracelet as you can get, which I'm fine with sometimes on a particular watch. But I do find that a little bit more embellishment, such as a Jubilee or so, can add a little bit more spice or personality or pizzazz to a watch, and it did do that for the Black Bay. And so, tying back into Seiko, you know, the Seiko 5 Sports line, which is their smaller version of the quote-unquote you know, the Seiko 5 Sports, the 5KX, right, the dive watch or dive style watch. It's a smaller version, a little bit more rounded and versatile timepiece at 40 millimeters. And if you look at the standard Seiko 5 Sports, which again, like the Black Bay, retains much of the handset and dial of the divers, right? It was just put into a more simplified form, at least with the case. It looks very similar. It gives a very similar feel to that Black Bay, the Seiko 5 Sports. And I was thinking, because of that, if you put that on a Jubilee, you could also spice it up a little bit more instead of just the, you know, I think it just comes with a plain oyster style bracelet. If you can't get it with a bracelet option for that particular Seiko 5 Sports. And so, and this is nothing new. They've had Jubilees for that model for maybe at least 2 years, you know, sometime, because the Seiko 5 Sports have been out for a while. But it got me thinking, because this watch is basically based on the Seiko 5 Sports. It just has a completely new and original dial and stuff. It could work similarly. So I decided to look for a Jubilee bracelet to kind of make it a little bit more interesting and maybe feel a little bit more higher end than the standard bracelet. And so I was looking around, and basically the only 3 brands that had a fitted end link — I don't like straight ones — when I can get a fitted one that matches into the case well. The only 3 were this Uncle Seiko, StrapCode, and Long Island Watches. You know, Mark from Long Island, he has like a lot of accessories for Seikos and under his own brand, and so they cost less, right? And of course, you know, Maybe Seiko might have a Jubilee for this, but I actually can't remember if they do for the Seiko 5 Sports. But it would be kind of jangly if they did, but I'm assuming they don't, because I don't remember seeing one. Anyways, and that's why they probably offer aftermarket ones, Jubilees for this. I would say StrapCode and Long Island are very similar in design. Their class system is a little bit different between them, but overall the build of the bracelet seems about the same. Solid end links, but what I didn't like between the both of them, for both of them, as opposed to this Uncle Seiko, is mainly in the lug end links here. They have male ones, so I can't use my other hand to show, but basically these fine mid links kind of extend down, you know, as male end links do, and I just didn't like the way that looked. It just looked kind of these long lines coming off of the bracelet. And of course, when that happens, you got male end links, the pivot point where it would, you know, bend off, it's going to be outside of the case a bit, so extending the lug effective lug to lug because of that. And with this size of watch, and it's relatively short lug to lug, that wouldn't have been a big deal, but I think it was mostly a visual and aesthetic thing for me, that I didn't like the way that looked. I liked the way that Uncle Straps did with making females, so it breaks it. It doesn't have that long line coming off of the end links here, and so it just kind of just flows into it better. Doesn't have this kind of weird extension coming off in the case right here, right, as you can imagine. I mean, just look them up on Long Island or StrapCode, you know, Jubilee for these SRP. I guess they would consider SRP Seiko 5 Sports model, and you'll see what I mean. And so yeah, this was the main thing that determined why I wanted to go with Uncle Straps here, formerly Uncle Seiko, but they don't just focus on Seiko watches anymore. They got Tudor and Omega amongst others, but anyways, and I like the clasp more. It's simplified. Yes, there's only 3 micro adjustments, but I would say that's the minimal, and that's all that I needed. And I actually have a pretty good fit. It looks fairly well centered to my wrist, as you can see. It's running down the wrist line, I guess that center part of my wrist, pretty well, and it's pretty comfortable. And I like that I don't need a fold over piece. It's just nice and slim and small, compact, and lends itself to a more elegant form, along with to just clasp up the watch. And it also has a really nice taper. I don't know the measurements off the top of my head, but you can imagine from 20, this is probably at least 16 down here by the clasp. And it doesn't really get that much wider at the clasp itself, you know. Some of them bulk up and they actually go back up in the width, but this one, if it does, it's negligible, but it's pretty much straight through, which is nice. And I do like just a simple dual deployant button system here, you know, just 2 buttons to just pop it open, and then I can't show it right now, but the milled folding part is pretty nice. And yeah, that's the main thing. This is probably the more expensive between the 3 options. At regular price, it's about $80-90 or so, but I think there was a coupon to get a certain amount off, so I didn't pay that much. Probably instead of closer to 90, I paid closer to 70, or maybe right around 80. So, you know, save a bit on, I guess, shipping or tax if you wanted to include that. And that's why it would have bumped the price up anyways, for at least not so much the shipping, but probably the tax wherever you're buying from, or towards. So anyways, yeah, I was reluctant to spend as much because the watch, it's not cheap, but then again, it's not super expensive, and I want to spend almost $100, right? The better part of it, right? Around 80 bucks. That's pretty. You're already pushing over $75, so I consider it closer to 100 than closer to 50, right? Yeah, but you know, I thought this watch I really like. It's really cool. I like the colors, but it's not overly done, and I think adding this could really create a nice juxtaposition between, you know, a Jubilee can look a little bit fancy, and I don't know if the word classier is up there, but in some ways dressier, but in juxtaposition to the dial, which is, with the colors and the way it's done, is rather playful. And but I think it works still. It's not jarring. I don't think it seems weird. I think it seems actually somewhat balanced in that sense, you know. And I do find, even though some people consider Jubilee a bit fancier compared to an oyster bracelet, I found that depending on how they're paired with, it can still look pretty sporty and nice too, with the Jubilee bracelet. And it kind of, since this case is kind of based off of the famous SKX style of case, obviously, and that originally came with like a Jubilee style bracelet. If you got it on a bracelet, I think it kind of appropriate that it matched in that sense to that, just bringing back that SKX style with the Jubilee style onto the Seiko 5 Sports here. Yeah, and I think it's pretty cool looking. I like it. What do you guys think? I know this was a long-winded talk or explanation of why I got this, but I just felt like showing my rationale in why I picked the more expensive bracelet option, and why I wanted to pair it with this watch in particular, and I'm pretty happy that I did. So with that being said, thanks for watching, sticking around, and yeah, enjoy your watches.